New documentary that Joe played a big part in here is produced by Fox 9, and it reveals what 3M knew about the widespread contamination of PFAS.
Now I think a lot more has come out about the extent of what 3M knew and when.
3M had to reveal all the studies they covered up for decades that they were supposed to disclose under a federal law.
All the help and information they possibly can.
3M's research was the first to detect that perfluorochemicals were turning up everywhere.
They, again, had been looking at it for decades.
When I look at it, I say, my God, they knew about it 50, 60 years ago.
In 1978, they did a study of rhesus monkeys.
All the monkeys died in the first study, right?
That's correct.
They had to terminate the study after 20 days because the monkeys all died.
A lot to talk about here. So Fox 9 executive producer of investigations and documentaries, Joe Augustine, joining us now. So, Joe, you know, the title of this is Everywhere and Forever, Blood, Water, and the Politics of PFAS. It's really a part of all of our lives at this point. So just to kind of peel back a little bit, for people who don't know what PFAS is, can you go through what it is and how it affects all of us?
Sure. PFAS is an industrial chemical that was discovered when they were making the nuclear bomb. And then 3M, a Minnesota-based company, found a lot of uses for this chemical because it was so resistant. It can survive like up to 1,700 degrees of heat. I mean, it does not break down. And so that's what it went into the products like Scotch Guard, which went into our raincoats and all of this different stuff that we use every day and still use every day. So that's basically what it is. It's this industrial chemical. And as somebody told me, a scientist told me in the documentaries, what often makes these industrial products so great in everyday use is also what makes them so bad for the environment.
This PFAS have been around for decades. These stories have been covered for decades. We hear PFAS and I feel like it's white noise almost sometimes. Why now, all these years later, did you kind of dig back in, and what have you found that kind of regenerated the story?
Well, first of all, when we do documentaries, part of our goal is to always create the comprehensive historical record. So take all of the pieces that are out there. I mean, there's been such great reporting on PFAS for years, for decades, but it's scattered. It's all here, a little bit here, you learn a little bit here. With a documentary, like a book almost, you want to gather as much of that as possible and string it together in a thread so that if somebody's trying to learn about what happened here, or what about this chemical, they can learn as much as possible, you know, in that one setting. So that was the goal with it. For me personally, this is a project I really wanted to take on since the settlement was reached between the state of Minnesota and 3M back in 2018. You know, was looking at ways at getting into it, followed a lot of the reporting. You know, we had a breakthrough last year when we asked the Attorney General's office for all of these legal depositions that were recorded on camera. So it's 3M executives under oath, on camera. These depositions had been sitting in the Attorney General's office for years. Fortunately, we got our hands on them, and it really blew us away. I mean, it's really enlightening.
I was just about to ask you, were there any, you know, wow moments for you while you know, just tracking the progress and doing the interviews? Oh,
yeah, there's a lot. There really was between the interviews, but I think even more so was in the depositions. You know, it's one thing when you read it in a court record, you know, read a snippet of a deposition or even, you know, back and forth Q&A of a 3M executive, but seeing them on camera pressed about these issues, what they knew and when and how they responded, and then some of the reactions are just very telling, you know, even just some of, not even what they say, but just how their body reacts. There's one that really stands out to me where a 3M executive is asked about a certain scientist that the 3M had hired. And when they ask him who this person was, his shoulders just went, and then he reveals who it was. But that little shoulder sag speaks volumes, you know, and so little things like that we would never have gotten from the court records, but really come out in the deposition videos that we obtained.
We hear a lot about how PFAS are, we know they're chemicals, they shouldn't be in our bodies. Do we know the extent of how damaging they can be to us? Because apparently we all have them in our bodies, right?
Well, you know, you asked earlier about why now, too. Yeah. Well, this story, yeah, we're catching up on what happened in the past. This is not going away. Literally like the chemical, which forever, not going away. I don't think this issue is going away anytime soon. And part of that is because science, in the legal community, we're still trying to figure out what impact this has on your health. We know the impact on the environment. We know that they're not going to break down, they're going to contaminate the water, and then now we're dealing with that. The health side of it in our bodies, that's a whole another thing that we have to figure out. And 3M has contended for a long time that, listen, the impact is minimal on our health. There's plenty of other people that are saying, whoa, we don't know that. In recent years, it has been linked to increased risks of cancer and other diseases. But the tricky part, and there's a key soundbite in the documentary where a scientist says, trying to unravel what impact that specific chemical has with the whole soup of other chemicals that we ingest into our body every day is going to be very difficult. And that is what's going to play out in the courts, I believe, probably over the next several years.
Oh. This is all so interesting.
So we've just scratched the surface, really. Tonight, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, and it'll be available on YouTube and on our Fox Local app as well. For anybody who misses it there, can always catch it then.
Absolutely. Incredible work. The quality is like you're watching Netflix.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Did an incredible job putting this together and so informative. So thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.